G'day and welcome to Street Commodores Live, where this month we've travelled around the country to bring you the best in Commodore action. Just have a look at what we've got in store for you.
Coming up in this edition of Street Commodores Live, John from Melbourne shows us his multi-award winning Tough R8. We catch up with all the action at Spring Nats in not just one, but a two-part feature. We catch up with Gast, one of Australia's toughest wagons. We have a look at forced induction options for your LS1. Road and race car Cajo re-emerges. Street Commodores goes to the latest horsepower clothing dyno day in WA. We interview Robert Henty from Crow Cams. And Aaron Noonan chats to V8 Supercars champion Garth Tander. But let's get started with the amazing Tough R8.
There is a low, red, mean-looking machine that regularly roams the streets in sunny Melbourne, exposing its provocative lines. It's something you wouldn't expect to be intended for work duties. Somehow though, this 2001 R8 Maloo, mixed with the right amount of time and attention, became the multi-award winning ute you see before you.
Hi, I'm John Ricker and this is my VU Maloo ute. I pretty much decided to go all out with the ute. Pretty much as soon as I bought it, I went down to see the guys at Autobahn and yeah, just went from there.
The first thing on John's to-do list was to install a decent sound system, so he took it down to his mate Rob, who runs the local Autobahn. John was gobsmacked when the ute was returned with the best audio gear on the market. Although not a necessity, the three 8-inch subs and door-mounted screens make this install a very impressive one. It doesn't end there though, as there's a PlayStation 2 cleanly grafted into the cabin and a total system power rating of 3,000 watts RMS.
I've always been into cars. I've had a few other cars featured in Street Commodores and yeah, I've always been into the show scene. At the moment I've been driving at least twice a week. Everywhere I go there's people looking and giving me a thumbs up and all that sort of stuff.
CSV were put in charge of the engine tune, installing supercharged V6 injectors and a Walbro fuel pump before remapping the computer. All up with some correctly selected parts both on the outside and inside, it made an easy 303 kilowatts at the back tyres and crossed the Calder Park finish line in just over 11 seconds.
I ran 11.3 at 122 mile an hour, which yeah, I was pretty much over the moon.
On the outside, the guards were pumped and a Monaro bonnet was added before the whole car was resprayed in Sting Red. A cold air intake replaces the factory one and fits in neatly with the custom-built engine bay cover.
I've had a few mechanical setbacks, as in more the drive shafts and the diffs. Apart from that, I've had no problems at all with it. Yeah, engine, gearbox, clutch, it's all been good.
With most people expecting it to be the kind of car that sit in the garage under a cover, waiting for the next car show, John assures us that it does get regularly driven and that he's not afraid to drive it hard. The last thing on the card was a complete interior retrim in buttermilk and bone leather. John has continued the theme into the tray, surrounding another 2 subs and a motorised NOS bottle. A full Coney suspension package keeps the car slung low.
The hardest thing about building the ute was pretty much the whole thing. Picking colours and designing it, yeah, pretty much a whole lot. It drives fairly good in traffic and that never overheats and yeah, it's pretty good. If I was to build the ute again, I'd probably change the colour of the paint, probably a candy colour and redo the trim in some different colour too. Yeah. I always wanted the ute in the magazine. I spoke to the guys down the Street Commodores and they were happy to put on and feature it as a cover car, so yeah, I was really happy.
It's definitely a seriously nice ute. but as most enthusiastic car builders tell us, John has plans to take it even further by installing a stroker engine. With all of the boxes ticked, this monster HSV definitely is one tough R8.
Coming up next, all the action from Shepparton's Spring Nats.
www.streetcommodores.com is your one-stop place for everything Commodore on the web. Sit down, log in, and hang on because the Street Commodores website is full on. Where else can you read your favourite articles, watch the latest videos, download top quality images, and hang out with over 30,000 like-minded Commodore fanatics? There's info about upcoming events, the latest news, regularly updated features, and a forum chock-a-block full of info. You can also subscribe to the magazine or sign up to receive the Street Commodores newsletter, which puts you in the running to win awesome prizes. The Street Commodores website is constantly changing, so if you don't check it regularly, you'll miss out. This segment proudly brought to you by XHP Wheels.
We all love a good car show, so we headed to Shepparton in country Victoria, which was home once again to its largest annual event, the Spring Car Nationals. Tidy vehicles were seen across virtually the whole horizon, participating in both static and competitive events. There was a selection of stands and displays with detailed vehicles parked just about everywhere, including this sweet VT and this wild airbrushed Tirana. Littered across the venue were more cars, and despite the fact that many of these were there only for show, a few of the owners also took them out to give them some pedal on the pad. Even these lovely VLs gave it a go. Heading to the dyno area to check out some horsepower figures, we arrived just in time to catch up with Jeremy and his cover car VL HDT sliding up onto the rollers. Unwinding the power and presenting a heap of noise for the spectators, the Tidy VL made a tough 417.9 horsepower at the rear. Yet another crowd pleaser in the cage was something a little different. A striking twin-turbo enhanced and highly detailed 360 Ferrari. Making nearly 400 horsepower at the wheels. Also catching our eye was this aftermarket supercharged V6 VR with a plethora of leather throughout its custom interior. The owner of this VK seemed to be having some fun, with the 202 standing up to some tough treatment, as was this VK owner with his V8 Calais. Despite the Go-to-O being a timed event, some were more interested in letting loose than racing the clock. Pushing the envelope, this VC tried its best in the scorching conditions, dripping coolant and flaming at the carby to the delight of the crowd. That didn't stop him though, clearing the pad unassisted. Stay tuned, as there'll be more Spring Nats action coming up shortly.
Alright, good work.
If you like your burnouts, Smoke Machine Gassed is ready to rock after these messages.
When it comes to mag wheels, you should be entitled to the latest designs, great quality and above all, the best price. Well, look no further than XHP to make your Commodore stand out from the crowd. XHP have a huge range of wheels to suit just about anything you can drive. To see the full lineup, head to www.xhpwheels.com. And don't forget, when you roll on XHP, you're rolling on the best.
When I first built it, everyone said don't do it, no one's going to like it. Me being me, just another challenge I suppose. Took it on and decided to do something different, you know, left of field I suppose.
When Street Commodores last saw this sleek silver VC wagon way back in issue 68, it was still wearing its original VC bodywork. Soon enough though, this first setup was all changed by owner Phil Kajin, who reformed the VC into the highly detailed and smooth ride we see before us today.
When I first bought the car, it was white, it was a 253, power steering, air conditioning. It was a pretty comfortable car to drive, but yeah, a bit boring I suppose. This build, like this time, we started building after I hit the wall with the Toronto. That was March last year. About April, May, we decided planning on it and got stuck into it in August.
The few minor dents that needed attention were quickly remedied by Phil's mate Wazza, who also completed the VK panel conversion and the modified rear bar. Then the engine bay was smoothed to perfection and lavishly coated in VT Orion Silver. It was at engine bay stage that Phil decided to go even further with the build, pushing his much-loved 253 to one side to be replaced with a much bigger 350 cubic inch small block Chev. The Chev block was sent away to be fully bored, honed, decked and then crack tested. Installed under KB forged pistons was a 383 cubic inch capacity SCAT 3750 crankshaft with SCAT I-beam rods. This resulted in a static compression ratio of 11.2 to 1. A Camtech solid camshaft was fitted to push the Trend push rods against the Harlan Sharp 1.5 to 1 rockers. Then lowered into place were a set of ported and polished World Product Sportsman heads. To back this massive combo up, Phil had a TH350 box rebuilt by Northmead Auto Centre and bolted up behind the shed powerhouse.
The car doesn't get driven that often. The only times we do drive it are usually mostly events, stuff like the Power Cruise, River Arena Revfest. Basically any time I can get to drive it hard.
Suspension items are all headers, and up back there is a coilover rear end ladder bar setup. The coilovers are made from AVO springs and shocks with the diff and chassis extensively braced. The wheel tubs were chopped up and extended to help fit those huge wheels under the car.
The idea behind this was to build this to have fun with this car. You have burnouts, power skids, a bit of racing here and there I suppose, and keep the other car as a drag car and show car only.
At the South Coast Nationals, the VC got second place in the burnouts, blowing both back tyres and only reaching 220 degrees water temp. Phil was wrapped, and trophies have only seemed to follow this wagon. Phil has also taken top wagon and top aspirated small block at Revfest. With no doubt, many more trophies are to come in the future.
Basically just going to keep doing some skids in it and having fun the way I have been so far. Keep popping tyres off the rims and see how we go with it.
In need of an affordable power upgrade? After the break, we take a look at forced induction options for your LS1.
Getting yourself motivated isn't always that easy. When you've got 20 of your mates around you, that's all the motivation you need.
In Street Commodores Live Volume 10, I tore down an LS1 to give you guys an idea of what makes them tick, and we also took a look at a range of aftermarket parts to beef them up for forced induction and big power levels. This time around, we've returned to Sam's Performance to take a look at a range of forced induction options for both the LS1 and other engines. All superchargers are belt driven off the crank, and their goal is the same, to increase manifold pressure. There's three main types, but their job is the same in each application, to create boost. The old school root style supercharger is quite primitive, but still very effective. Usually found poking up out of the bonnet, sandwiched between a pair of carburetors and the intake manifold. It's basically just a big pump which presses the fuel and air mixture and forces it into the engine. With the roots blower, the speed and pressure of the intake mixture alters with pulley size and engine speed. Basically, the harder you spin them, the more boost they make. Centrifugal style superchargers are basically a belt-driven turbo compressor with an internal gear drive that brings them up to speed. They're commonly found under the bonnet, hanging off the side of the engine like an extra accessory on the belt drive, such as a power steering pump or alternator. Centrifugal blowers offer a constant flow and pressure of boost that increases and decreases with engine RPM. They're great for big dollops of pressure at high revs, and the right size unit can see 20 psi and above. But remember, this is at high revs, so your low RPM and mid-range won't be quite as good as some of the other options. The other design of supercharger is the Eaton style blower. The difference with this type is that the level of boost doesn't vary greatly with engine speed. It is a positive displacement supercharger, and they can provide maximum boost at little more than idling revs, greatly increasing the low and mid-range performance of the engine. The increased torque levels from this type of blower means that the acceleration, drivability and throttle response improve massively, You might remember my test drive of the E-Series Walkinshaw on Live Volume 9, which was equipped with an Eaton M112 blower.
Turbochargers do the same job as a blower in that they increase manifold pressure, but they do it a little bit differently because they're driven by the exhaust gases and not a crank-driven belt. The turbocharger is bolted to the exhaust manifold, and the exhaust from the cylinders spins the turbine. The turbine is connected by a shaft to the compressor, which is located between the air filter and the intake manifold. And it is the compressor that pressurises the air and forces it into the intake manifold. Now, whereas with the blower you control the boost level with the size of the pulley, when a turbocharger you control the boost with a wastegate. Now on this unit, the wastegate is an internal wastegate, which means it's bolted to the turbo. Whereas other units can be external. That's usually on larger turbocharger systems, where the wastegate sits separately from the turbocharger. Now the way a wastegate works is by having a spring inside which is preloaded to a certain pressure. This unit is set to 8 psi, which means that when the compressor is forcing 8 pounds of boost into the engine, the wastegate will open and vent any excess boost back into the intake. Some external wastegate systems use a screamer pipe, which vents the excess gas straight to atmosphere, although for on-street use, that is illegal. Now, forced induction creates a lot of heat, which is a problem when it comes to performance, because we all know engines like cold air, and that is why intercoolers were invented. Now, an intercooling system is available for both turbocharged and supercharged engines, depending on your application, of course. Now, this unit is a front-mounted air-to-air intercooler, which means that once the air has been pressurised by the compressor, it then travels through pipes into the intercooler, which is cooled by the air rushing through the front bumper, and then back out and into the intake manifold. Now, a good front-mounted air-to-air intercooler will drop intake temperatures massively and make a huge difference to performance. You will lose some boost pressure as it travels through, but a well-designed front-mounted intercooler will minimise that. All of these options allow an engine to burn more fuel and more air by packing extra of each into the cylinders. The average boost you'll see in a forced induction application is 6 to 8 psi, which when you consider that atmospheric pressure at sea level is 14.7 psi, or 1 bar, you're getting about 50% more air into the engine. So, you'd expect to get 50% more performance, but these systems are not perfectly efficient. So it's more likely that you'll get a 30 to 40% increase instead. This inefficiency comes because the power to spin the turbines is not free. With a supercharging system, engine power is robbed by the belt drive, which puts a strain on the crankshaft, drawing engine power to spin the supercharger. With turbochargers, having a turbine in the exhaust flow increases the restriction in the exhaust. This means that the engine has to push against an extra back pressure. So each cylinder that is firing at the same time will lose just a little bit of power as it's forcing against that extra pressure. Now, whilst this inefficiency robs some power, the additional manifold pressure from the blower or turbocharger more than makes up for it. So, which system is for you? Well, it's all a matter of personal taste. Do you like blower wine or blower fouls? It's a little bit like blondes and brunettes. You always like one more than the other.
Stay tuned. Coming up is a competition-focused road race VX.
Rodney? Where's your father, sweetheart?
He's at the shops.
Check this out. With over 10,000 great value ideas for your car, garage and shed, you just can't get enough of Super Cheap Auto.
Everything auto, much, much more.
This this looking Phantom Black VX belonging to Christian Oliver is a competition-focused monster. As featured in Street Commodores magazine back in 2001, and again recently in 2007, it may ring a bell with some viewers. When purchasing the car, trends towards small, lightweight four-wheel drive cars were given the shove in favour of a car that was bigger and had more weight than the usual Evos or WRXs.
I wanted a bigger style car because I thought, okay, this will be the last car I buy for a while. The main thing was just getting all my mates in the car with me and enjoying a big new car so everyone else can enjoy it with me.
Plenty on the car has changed since featuring in the mag, including the replacement of the new gel body kit and a complete change of interior to better suit the VX to its competitive nature on the track. Viewers might also remember the issues Christian was having with his supercharger. Optimistically, this gave him the opportunity to extract better, usable power from his LS1 without having to worry about fuel and the power delivery from boost.
Firstly, when I got used to the power and I wanted more in it, we had a supercharger put on it. I constantly found I had to chase fuel issues with it. After all, I just thought, well, I can build a motor with heads and cam in this and get the same sort of power, so we decided to do it that way.
The engine was sent away and the machining and preparation processes were carried out. The bottom end was assembled using a standard crank and rods, with ACL Race Series pistons and rings installed, which provided an 11.5 to 1 static compression ratio. Ported and polished heads were fitted, and the engine achieved a sizable 660 horsepower on the flow bench. Crow valve springs and Yellow Terra roller rockers were chosen for reliability. Sealed Pro lifters and Crow push rods moved nicely with a Roller Master double road timing chain, keeping everything running like clockwork. Up front, an 80mm throttle body was fitted, which accompanies a K&N GTO intake kit. From there, a 4-into-1 pacemaker header setup expels the spent gases and blows them into twin 2.5-inch mandrel bent exhausts, and finally into a 3-inch single pipe.
The hardest thing is, which I've learned to be an expert at now, is getting the motor in and out. It's been out 4 times.
The new engine combo was happy to make 306 rear-wheel kilowatts. Backing all that power up, the T56 manual box was removed and fitted with Ravage Racing selectors and an extreme 1,000 horsepower dual plate clutch. With all this strong gear and a muscular engine package, one of the main areas that Christian is looking at improving on is in the brake department, which is still on the back burner for a little while.
Ideally, I'd like it to stop better, but we're working on that at the moment. The most important thing I've noticed with it is actually widening the track. That and probably sway bars are the 2 biggest modifications that we've done to it to get the directness out of the steering.
The minute you open the door, the Velo race seat and bare minimum in the cabin makes the race influences even more evident.
The make or break was once I had the cage in it. I had to have a cage in the car, which was cam specs to compete in an event. I decided, well, once that's in, the carpet's out, everything's becoming lightweight, stereo's out, fans out.
A quick glance across the dash reveals a white-faced instrument cluster and a TerraTrip rally computer. Custom dash inserts house a push-button starter and oil pressure and charge warning lights, as well as Autometer Phantom Series oil pressure and oil temp gauges. The glove box lid is also gone, replaced by the fuse box, which finishes the all-business look to the interior.
We've competed in Classic Adelaide a couple of years ago and we won our class there. That was really good. We've also competed in Legend of the Lakes at Mount Gambier, which was quite good.
Externally, the car wears a body kit consisting of a Club Sport front bar, matching headlights, VY Club Sport side skirts, and a Club Sport rear skirt. Keeping everything rolling is a set of Oz Racing Chrono Magnesium wheels shot in sticky Hankook RSR 2540-17 rubber.
My dad had one of the first A9Xs. Obviously working at a Holden dealer, he was afraid that I would have no interest in cars because I never seemed to have any reaction to them, but yeah, I think that's developed, and I think my parents sort of think they created a monster now.
Next, we head to WA for the Horsepower Clothing Dyno Day.
Where in the world do you find someone who knows everything there is to know about batteries and portable power accessories? Someone you can rely on for all the right advice. Battery World, of course. Cars, boats, bikes, anything. If it relies on a battery, Rely on the experts. Battery World. Phone 13 1760.
The Horsepower Clothing Dyno Day was this time hosted by one of Western Australia's leading tuning houses, Formula Tech. Brett and the crew drew a solid crowd, with owners keen to show off their stuff on the rollers. Throw in a barbecue and $1,500 worth of DeFilippo headers as a major prize, and you've got yourself a great dyno day.
Alright guys, now for the first time we brought the Horsepower Clothing Dyno Days across to WA, where Brett and the Formula Tech crew have been kind enough to put us up. And the WA's brought out some awesome cars. Why don't we go have a look at some of them?
At the moment she's running 480 at the wheels. Unfortunately the injectors are letting it down a bit at the moment. We've gone the 40 pound at the moment, we're putting it up to the 60 pound, so we're hoping for 500 to possibly 600 if we can stretch it at the moment, yeah. So it's going to be a nice street cruiser, you know. Definitely would have loved to have got on the dyno day. It's not going to happen.
So it's a lookout motivation?
I'd definitely look out motivation, yeah.
Soon it was time to get the machines up on the rollers. A few of the vehicles were punching out some very respectable figures. We saw a few Ecotech conversions on the day, and there is no wonder why these are a popular retrofit. Nearly every model Commodore from the last 25 odd years, including the aforementioned VH-V6, VLs, VTs and VEs, were all too happy to push their pedals down to give us some more details on their power outputs. Formula Tech's Brett put the naturally aspirated V6 race car up to its task, making a very clean 236.5 horsepower. And following on was this ultra tidy VK V8. Just take a look at it, pumping out 251.8 horsepower at the treads.
Alright man, so what are we looking at here? Obviously the L67 wasn't a VP factory option. How much power have we made today?
256.
Yeah, just dropped a Ecotech into my van out of a 99 WK Stato. Put rockers on it, extractors, changed the boost pulley, and a custom tune, and that's about it really.
Now what kind of power are we making?
Made 259 today.
There was a great turnout of some higher powered utes in a variety of configurations. The combined ute figures sealed the deal on some of the extensive work that had been put into them. Formula Tech's own vehicles showed themselves well, the second being this tickled red VX HSV, followed by their newer VE HSV. Forced induction on the trusty LS1 was also a nice flavour on the day. The accolades on the day went to Trent in his black VZ GTO, who won a $1,500 set of DeFilippo extractors for his outstanding 452.1 at the wheels. Trailing by only 0.1 of a horsepower was Brian, who scored second place outright with a very healthy 452 horsepower from his VZ SS. Other awards went to first position forced V8, top horsepower 6-cylinder, forced induction and top naturally aspirated.
Congratulations to Trent taking out the top spot with his outstanding 452.1 horsepower, with the Hard Luck Award going to Brian, missing out on the top spot by just 0.1 of a horsepower. Thanks go to Brett and his team who hosted the event, and Horsepower Clothing. For more information on the next Horsepower Clothing Dyno Day, head to the Street Commodores forums at www.streetcommodores.com. After the break, we chat to Robert Henty from Crow Cams.
Simply purchase a 10-issue subscription or subscription extension to Street Commodores for $99.50 and you'll also receive a free 5-issue subscription to Extreme Holdens worth $39.75. To take up this great offer or to check out other awesome subscription offers including huge discounts and free gifts, just go to www.streetcommodores.com.
Crow Cams is Australia's largest manufacturer of performance camshafts and valve train components, and we were lucky enough to speak to marketing manager Robert Henty.
My first car was a 1964 Holden E8 station wagon that I inherited from my grandfather. I didn't modify it, which was about the only car I never modified because it was one of the lowest mileage E8s in Australia. It had only done about 9,000 miles when I picked it up, so I kept it standard and eventually sold it to Sutton's in Sydney as a display car, so had it for about 3 years. Yeah, I actually worked with Alan Jones when he come back from winning the World Championship in a driving school, an advanced driving school, and as part of that we raced Formula Fords and the Driver to Europe series, and after that, after I got out of that gig, I did some racing in series production cars, and then had a break for quite a while, then went into HQ racing for a while, and when it first started, and then just do a little bit of club racing every now and again now. And it all started probably 25 years ago when Ray was developing a lot of speedway engines. He couldn't really get the cam grinds that he wanted. In fact, there was a lot less cam grinders in Australia then, so in the end the boys bought a cam grinder themselves and Ray started to develop his own profiles and was quite successful with it. The name Crow came later and they started to market. You know, people wanted to have a name they could hang their hats on, and that's how it all started. The boys, I think, were looking for a name that was synonymous with camshafts. I mean, obviously Crane was a big camshaft brand in America, and a bird, an American bird, and they figured, well, we've got to come up with an Australian bird that people can relate to, and a character that people can relate to, and that's how the Crow name was born. So, well, I think we wanted to make the most, both here and overseas, of the strength of the three brands together. The products all complement each other. I mean, Yellow Terror make an excellent range of roller rockers, cylinder heads, and also they're developing into other products like clutch and flywheel, and also into air induction and superchargers. So the products really complement each other. You know, guys who are buying a supercharger kit for a V6 or a V8 Commodore may be looking for a camshaft or valve train components. They may also be looking for a harmonic balancer. I mean, the best example of that really is the LS1, where we have coordinated kits from a bolt-on package with high ratio rockers and valve springs and an underdrive harmonic balancer, right through to some radical camshaft based combinations as well with tunes. So really it's the strengths of the three companies working together and a united front into the US market. What people may not realise, the Aussie Assault was built by a group of companies. I mean, I bought the car, but a lot of Australian companies got involved to demonstrate what Australian companies could do, and that gave us a bit of impetus into the Middle Eastern market with the Commodore-based product that's over there and also back into the US. But what it demonstrated is everything from suspension to braking systems to virtually every engine part in the engine can be built, you know, to world standards in Australia and produce a car which is not only reliable but a lot of fun to drive. With the VE, the current L98 VE Commodore, which is a totally different beast as we all know, it's not an LS1 engine, it's quite a different engine in all respects. The valve train's different, harmonic balance is different, everything about it's different, and it's all based around a brand new cylinder head, rectangular port cylinder head, which flows really well, significantly better than any LS1 head, and something that gives you a great basis for building power. So the things that work well on an LS1, like a cam change, a tune-up, good exhaust system and an air intake, work even better on a VE L98. So, and you've got a little bit more capacity to work with as a starting point as well. I think we've been lucky because Ray Hudson, one of the partners, took to computer and also programming of computers very, very well over the years, and also took to developing his own CNC machines quite well too. So a lot of the manual processes that are normally associated with cam grinding, as you'll see out in the factory, have been actually automated. So the workers don't have to concentrate on menial tasks like winding wheels or manually checking camshafts for quality. That's all done in an automated fashion, so the control of the process is a lot sharper, and also the results in terms of the consistency of quality is much, much better. I think the potential for automotive development, like for performance development in the next 10 years is great. I mean, the cars that we've got to work with now, the Commodores we've got to work with now, are better than ever. You know, it's a starting point for modification. I mean, they're great cars out of the factory, let's face it. They brake better, they handle better, they go better than ever before. But thanks to GM's design, they're also quite responsive to change as well. So, whereas in the past people were happy with a 180 or 200 kilowatt output car, they're now chasing 350, 400 kilowatts, but with the braking performance and the handling to go with it. So, we see tremendous potential in the Commodore range over the next, 10 years. It's great. The new V is a great car. We're getting our head around the Alloytech V6 at the moment, and we'll be developing some products for those over the next few years now that that engine is going to America as well in the G6 and G8 Pontiac. So we see obviously global opportunities for it, not just in Australia.
For more information and all inquiries, visit www.crocams.com.au. Don't go away. After the break, Aaron Noonan chats with V8 Supercar champion Garth Tander.
When it comes to mag wheels, you should be entitled to the latest designs, great quality, and above all, the best price. Well, look no further than XHP to make your Commodore stand out from the crowd. XHP have a huge range of wheels to suit just about anything you can drive. To see the full lineup, head to www.xhpwheels.com. And don't forget, when you roll on XHP, you're rolling on the best.
Winning the V8 Supercar Championship Series is a long process. Drawn out over 14 rounds, 37 races and 10 months, there are all sorts of traps and speed humps for drivers and teams in the search for the elusive crown. The immense pressure to perform that is placed upon drivers, engineers and mechanics is getting bigger every year as the V8 Supercar category and its status continues to rise. In 2007, Toll HSV Holden driver Garth Tander broke through for his first title in his 10th season in the category. It's been a long ride for the boy from Perth to become the king of supercar racing, so Street Commodore stole some time from GT in the week after his Phillip Island finale success to dissect his championship year.
Garth, thanks for taking the time to sit down with Street Commodores. It's been a massive 2007, and I know it hasn't just been 1 year to win this championship, it's basically been 10, hasn't it?
Well, it's been a long journey. It's 10 years since I started in the category and came very close in 2000, very early in my career, only 3 years in, and finished runner-up then. And since then, it's been a few years in the wilderness, and since joining the HSV dealer team, we came very close in 2006, but a bad sand down in Bathurst when I went and had holidays at HRT cost me a lot of points and maybe the championship, but it was a very sweet feeling crossing the line that Sunday afternoon at Phillip Island.
If crossing the line was sweet, what was the feeling when you copped the hit from Craig Lowndes in that last race? How was the heart rate there?
Oh, at that stage, I didn't realise that we had enough points up our sleeve that it didn't matter if Craig got past, as long as Jamie Whincup didn't pass Todd Kelly for the lead of the race, and that would have actually made it 2 points in Jamie's favour. So at that time I was a little concerned, and he gave me a bit of a tap up, so I made sure I returned the favour a couple of corners later.
So have you paid Todd in the off-season for his troubles?
Yeah, I buy Todd a beer or two over the Christmas period, that's for sure.
Looking back at the season, it was a season, we talked about the championship, that no one seemed to want to win. There were so many things that went wrong, particularly in the back half of the season. But when you look at the stats, it was pretty telling. 4 round wins, 3 pole positions in there, 15 race wins out of 37. It almost would have been an injustice based on those stats had you not won, but in the end it was only 2 points.
I don't know if it would have been an injustice if I didn't win, because we all sit down at the start of the year, read the rule book, and the rule book says he with the most points wins. And we had a bad Bathurst again this year where we had some brake issues there and DNF'd, and at that stage Craig and Jamie won the race, and that was a 72-point swing in their favour. So that hurt us heavily. And then, as you say, the championship that no one wanted to win, I don't think that was the case. I think everyone wanted to win it that bad that there was a lot of pressure, and pressure brought mistakes and a few errors all through all 4 championship contenders as drivers and as teams. So, I don't think everyone wanted to not win it. It was just that everyone wanted to win it really badly.
Tell me about the highlight. If you could pick one, obviously the championship was the ultimate goal in the end, but along the journey, I guess winning in Perth, your first home win, was pretty important, and the dominating style that you won there. A few other wins during the year. Queensland Raceway's becoming a bit of a second home for you. What stands out as the one? Was it a success, or was it a fight back from what could have been a disaster somewhere along the way?
Oh look, there's lots of things that you can look back upon the year and really enjoy, and one of those is the Perth victory. To go there having not won a round or a race even of any national championship motor racing there, and to win all 3 races, fastest in qualifying, fastest in practice. It was just an absolutely awesome, surreal weekend. Queensland Raceway, really enjoying that place now. I might try to see if I can't buy it up by Ipswich. But I think that probably the most important race, and the one that will take the most satisfaction out of, is race 1 Phillip Island at the last round of the championship. We had a bad qualifying, qualified 7th, which is by our standards not where we like to be, and to come from 7th to win the race in the last round of the championship when it was all on the line was a fantastic effort by our crew. We had a great pit stop which jumped us up a couple of spots, and we made a lot of changes to the car after qualifying so that when we went into the race the car was a little foreign to us. We didn't know whether it was going to react or not, and it was just absolutely fantastic to drive.
It reacted then?
Yeah, look, you know, as I say, I think that will go down as the most important race of the championship as far as winning it.
What about the other way? That race at Bathurst in October would probably stand out?
Yeah, look, Bathurst was disappointing, but it took all day for us to actually finally DNF there.
It was a long death.
It was. We were dying slowly up there, that's for sure. But I guess the most disappointing race for me personally was race 3 at Tassie, where you know, passing move went wrong, DNF'd, damaged the car beyond repair, and I really thought at that stage I may have thrown away the championship.
As history shows you didn't. What did it feel like on that podium at Phillip Island? Did it feel like you thought it would for all these years building up to this, or was it something completely different?
No, I guess the biggest feeling was just relief, because so much effort has gone into not only you know, my results, but the whole team. You know, the whole team worked so hard. We were very, very keen to make sure that we backed up Rick's championship last year with one of our cars, and as it turned out, it was fortunate to be me. So I guess relief was the biggest thing, and you know, for me personally, having been in the category for so long, 7 years since I was runner-up, you know, it was certainly a very sweet feeling.
There was one low light though to your win. You seemed to struggle to get it right to do that burnout. You ended up on the grass even. Clearly you haven't been planning this and working on this for long enough.
Well, it shows that I didn't have too much of a misspent youth. And yeah, look, I got a little lost and ended up on the grass, and you know, I was a bit of paddock bashing for a little while, and then got back on the tarmac and got lost in the smoke. The wind changed direction, I couldn't see where I was going. So, I mean, well, I think once I was on the tarmac it was okay, it wasn't too bad.
With the #1 plate to take into 2008, Tander is well placed to try and be a back-to-back V8 Supercar champion, the first since Marcus Ambrose. He also has a race team to worry about, Tander Sport, and his wife's Leanne's bid to become the first woman to win the Gold Star in Australian Formula 3 open-wheeler racing. In future editions of Street Commodores, we talk to Garth about his future plans for his own team and how a kid from Perth charged his way through the junior categories, all the way to become a Bathurst and V8 Supercar Series champion.
Yes, as promised, we have even more Spring Nuts action coming up after this break.
By signing up to the Street Commodores newsletter, you'll be ahead of the pack when it comes to the latest news, event info, what's on the forums, and a sneak preview of what's in the next issue. It's easy to sign up. Just head to www.streetcommodores.com and follow the links to the newsletter page. There you can tell us a little more about yourself, and when you hit the submit button, you've instantly put yourself into the running to win great prizes each and every month. Go on, what are you waiting for?
Spring Nats 2007 was filled to the brim with horsepower, and what a display the crowd was witness to. Even the powerhouse Camaro Peter and Debbie Gray reared its head and smoked some tyres. It's easy to see why this record-breaking Camaro has been a burnout champion countless times. Just take a look at the way Peter throws it around the pad. Visitors were also able to browse the trade stands that were in abundance, including the EMG stand, which was selling merchandise from many of our magazines. On Saturday night, the festivities moved to the showground, where the cars and the partying kept running till late into the night.
Now, when you guys do get cars, maybe Fords? You like your Fords or?
Holden.
You like Holden? We won't talk to her anymore. Do you guys like Fords?
Nah.
Do you like Fords?
No.
As well as the fireworks displays, there was also plenty of noise, smoke and burnt rubber across both the Saturday and the Sunday. A massive lineup of events pleased the huge crowd, including something a little different to the norm. Although you are still watching Street Commodores, we just had to show you this drifting demonstration. Visitors were treated to some excellent driving, as a few imports and local vehicles displayed some fantastic manoeuvres. Drivers on the day took their drifting seriously, using huge amounts of induced oversteer, inertia and handbrake coupled with acceleration to keep their cars sideways for as long as possible. The drifters were also strategic, maintaining close distances and overtaking or increasing lead under drift conditions, all to help win their laps or passes. This all made for some great viewing. The demo soon became a free-for-all, with some cars showing off some of their different moves. Illustrated in full colour, these guys didn't quite grasp the idea of go-to-woe. Most took a more direct approach, although most in attendance didn't mind either way. Despite its 500 horsepower engine, VL8 GT kept traction surprisingly well. As did some nice VNs and VPs. This VC looked to be getting the hang of it too. The day wrapped up all too quickly, and before long, it was time to go. To be in the thick of things and to see more action next time around, make sure you tag along to the next Spring Nats event in 2008.
Well, the show's over and we've run out of time. It's really hot here in Shepparton and it's been a long weekend, so I'm going to grab myself a cold drink. Until next time, bye for now.